Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Al-Qaeda and Islamic State. The Middle East is more unstable than ever, and overwhelmed by violence too. So is violence an inevitable step on the road to peace? And is peace itself merely an absence of violence? We are at the first night of the philosophy of Tel Aviv, where we will ask this question to many personalities and philosophers. It is a curious scene that takes place on the newly refurbished promenade. A circle forms, non-Hebrew speakers take headsets for translation. 3 red chairs, 3 intellectuals, the writer A.B. Yoshua, historian Eli Barnavi, and political scientist Denis Sharbit. On the program, how to think of violence. Obviously, the 3 did not agree, but they remained calm. And what emerged from the debate is a fundamental difference between physical violence and verbal abuse.
The violence? What violence? You speak of physical violence or verbal abuse? The task of intellectuals today is to try to limit the verbal violence that we can find everywhere, which is free everywhere. Anyone can now use verbal violence.
Verbal or not, what is violence anyway? It is an essential tool for achieving peace. With his sharp point of view, historian Eli Barnavi should be able to help us.
To say that violence is necessary to achieve peace, I do not think so. I even believe that peace and violence are opposites. This is an oxymoron.
Night has now fallen on the White City. We head towards the Susan Dalal Center, usually the epicenter of Israeli contemporary dance. The only stretching here will be of the neurons. Gerard Ben Susan, professor of philosophy at the University of Strasbourg, an expert on the Messianic time, is hosting a small chat. But when the Messiah comes, will there be more violence or not?
The coming of the Messiah is described in the texts of the Jewish tradition. It is described as introducing a cycle of violence. That is to say that the coming of the Messiah, it will be a period of disasters, historical disasters, violence without end.
Okay, we're not there yet. But meanwhile, while we wait, we want peace, right? So should we fight to achieve it?
This is a difficult question that we cannot ask abstractly. Philosophers sometimes tend to ask a number of questions in abstract ways. Here the issue of violence is absolutely conditional, and I believe we cannot put in an abstract way tension and violence on one side and peace on the other.
It gives food for thought. Meanwhile, another debate began. Among the participants, historian Zev Sternhalt. Often criticized, this veteran is one of the founders of the Peace Now movement. In short, he understands peace quite well.
To
reach peace, there is only one way to go: make peace. And we do not make peace by using violence. Peace comes to replace the rule of violence. The state of violence is quite the opposite of what is needed to make peace. To make peace requires that people decide they want to end the violence, and they decide they want to pursue a common existence in a peaceful situation.
À une situation pacifique.